Hello, my name is Adam Nova, and now we'll have a look at mesh objects in the 3D environment. Mesh objects are made out of vertices, edges, and faces. The vertices or polygons are simply the points that make up the mesh. The edges are any two vertices or polygons joined together, and the faces are any three or more vertices or polygons joined together to make a solid face so that we can see it. Selected objects in Blender are shown as colored. As default, orange color is shown for selected objects, and the active object itself is shown as a lighter orange. Not selected objects are shown as black. If you hold Shift and right click, you can select multiple objects as I've done here. Here is a list of selection options. You can right click or Shift and right click. B and C are also very useful. Using an outliner, you can find objects by name. And down here we can see the name of the object we have selected. Here is a list of some more hotkeys when editing meshes. You don't have to know all of these straight away, but this is useful, so you can print this off and put this next to your desk as you go. Here's the rotate, scale, and grab, R, S, and G, common manipulation tools. Shift and A will allow us to add an object, and pushing Tab will get us to edit mode, allow us to edit the vertices themselves. Without pushing Tab, we'll be manipulating the object as a whole and not the mesh inside the object. Here are some more transformation options. We can go through them more in the future. These are all very useful and we should get familiar with all of these, particularly moving along a certain axis. After using G, R, or S to transform our object, we can select an axis to transform it along specifically. We can also use the cursor to translate with, and this we'll go through more in the future. The cursor is your friend, do get used to it. So now in Blender, we can have a look at some manipulation options. We'll first click Shift A to add an object. Here is a list of different objects. We are only looking at meshes for now. We'll add a plane. We can see that the plane is made out of 4 vertices, as we can see at the top, 4 edges and 1 face. By pushing X, we can manipulate and delete a part of the object. We can delete the face only. We can delete the face only, so now we are seeing an empty object. Pushing Z shows the solid view, and now we can see that it's not solid. Pushing Tab gets us back into edit mode. A will select all, and F makes it solid, so now we've got a solid face again. We have selected more than 3 vertices. We have a face. If we want to make a face with more than 4 vertices, that's something I will tell you to try and avoid for now. That is only because when you add modifiers later, it can create distortions in the picture that you're not aware of and be quite ugly. As you can see where it joins here, it's got a triangle. To manipulate the object, we can push grab, R for rotate, and S for scale. We can restrict it to one axis, so by G then X, I'm moving along one axis. If I push G then Shift X, I'm moving along all axes but excluding the X axis. So I'm moving along the Z and the Y axis. I can do the same for rotation and scale. So if I scale Shift Z, I'm scaling along all axes but the Z axis being up and down, and I now have a really flat object. I can now scale along the Z axis by pushing scale, S, then Z, and now we can see it scaling only along the Z axis. We can use the cursor to manipulate, so we push the cursor to one point. We can now move another point to that one, so we can move the cursor to this vertex using Shift S, cursor to selected, and now pushing full stop, we can scale along the axes to the cursor. That can be very useful. Or we can simply push Shift S again and push selection to cursor, so now it's at the cursor location. We can push A to select everything. W will give us extra options, and we can now remove double vertices. So now we have a square again, removing a double. we now have 4 vertices as opposed to before. If I control Z before I removed it, we have 5. There are 2 on top of each other. One more button you should be aware of. If I remove doubles again, I can control R, put a ring in there. And if I accidentally push V, then right click, I have split the vertices without even being aware of it. You can't see it, but I've actually split the 2 objects into 2. Pushing A, selecting all, W, the remove doubles will bring you back to a safer point, and it's very useful. When manipulating an object, I would recommend for the start you hold Control or Control and Shift at all points, allowing you to increment in full amounts or in tenths of that amount. So you can always undo what you have just done. That's the double, so it looks ugly. Let's move that over. You can see I've made it. Again, let's make the bottom flat, use the cursor, select everything on the bottom using Alt Shift, go to the side. Now I can scale to the cursor along the Z axis, making it flat on the bottom. This is very important, especially in 3D printing. You now have a flat bottom to print off of.